2, 2024. Let's get into it. Last week, your commish opened up the season calling for an upset. I didn't call for just any upset, though. I said the Sacco was going to upset our league champ. Your commish went big. It was a bold move. Let's see how it played out for me. I said I loved Stafford, despite getting 300 yards, though, up against Detroit. He still only ended up with, on an average fantasy day, finishing with about 20 points. I said I wasn't sure about A.J. Brown, but he had a great night with 23 points. Still not sure on that offense, but he had a good night. I was out on King Henry. I didn't like Goddard, and I didn't like Scary Terry. I mostly got that right, except Goddard ended up the number 12 tight end on the week. Man, he must have had a good week. 6 points. 6 points. Remember in the draft reviews how I said the TE is never that deep, and it's always the TE year. Oh my God, tight ends are going to be great. There's so many, they're going to be good. Stop it. Does anyone want to try to convince me that I'm wrong about this? 6 points, and Goddard was a starting tight end. That's gross. All right, so overall, not a great prediction week. But TJ had Moody. Came through with 26 points from his kicker, giving him the second highest total of the week. Of course, I didn't preview that, but TJ, congratulations to our champ. But it didn't matter, baby. Your commish comes out of the gate 1-0 in the most Sacco move ever. Cameron told us that he had Xavier Worthy in. That's what he told me. I texted him and said, hey man, I think I'm picking you this week. He said, oh, I left Xavier out of my lineup. I said, oh man, that's not good. That's gonna be rough for you. I don't know if you're gonna win. He had a great night. He's like, yeah, I think I still got it. Sacco doesn't even know who he started yet. You gotta be dumb if you're gonna get lucky. And Cameron definitely got lucky. Worthy dropped 20 points. He had him in his starting lineup. Not exactly what I thought he'd do. I said he'd be boom or bust, so I guess that was kind of right. I also said Kelsey would show up. That NFL script had him getting at least a touchdown. He had less than 6 points. Wasn't even a starting top 12 tight end. I also said if Kirk against Miami did not have a good week, I'd be worried for him and our Zags. Well, where's my Xanax? Because Kirk had 1 catch. Color me worried. Then I trash talked Baker to Evans. I didn't like that connection, although I did acknowledge that Washington has a horrific defense. They dropped 63 points. So can't say I got much right here, but you know what? Doesn't matter. Sacco comes up as the highest scoring team on the week, making him 1-0 and me 1-0. And that is all that matters. So going into week 2, I am 1-0. Let's get our week 2 preview started. All right, this week we currently are going to go with Cooper. He's got the Pocket Dogs. They are coming off a 1-0 start, beating Steve the Viking. Only beat him by 0.65 points. So Cooper ekes out a win. He was our lowest scoring team that ended up with a win this week. But a win's still a win, so he is 1-0. He's getting Fat Gandalf and Dre's mental erections. Love the team name change, boys. But after beating Ryan's Christian McCaffrey-less team by only 7 points, you've got to feel pretty dirty about that win. So this game's tale is 2 teams that shouldn't have wins but are currently undefeated. That's something our league champ can't say. All right, currently Cooper is projected to win by 6 points. It is the second closest game of the week, so I do try to pick the close games. So let's kind of get into it here. We've got quarterbacks. Cooper's starting with Murray in golf versus Fat Dre's. I don't know, Fat Dre's? That sounds pretty insulting, Dre, my bad. But that's the combo of your name. Like Bafflick. So, anyway, we've got Hurts and Rodgers. So, Kyler Murray, Jared Goff versus Hurts and Rodgers. While Murray only threw for 162 yards last week, that was not what I expected. I thought he'd come out doing a little more, and everything was really short passes. He gets the Rams this week, and with Puka out, I still like the Rams offense. But I don't like either team's defense. So we've got 2 offenses that I like and 2 defenses that I don't like. I think Kyler can get it back on track, bring in at least 20. But if he can get Harrison out of the gate, hopefully he can find a way to use him. I mean, I know it's not his job and all, but hopefully he can find a way to use him. and get some points on the board. Goff also had a letdown on the week against the Rams. Despite going into overtime, he still only scored 15 points, and Amon-Ra was nowhere to be found. Those were two of my biggest sleepers of the year. I thought they were great values in the draft. So, while I might be wrong on Baker, he did have 4 touchdowns. I was right on the Bucs defense. They allowed the 4th highest fantasy points last week, which I think is going to be a trend. Again, I just don't think they're very good. On top of being bad, they lost 3 of their defensive backs in this game, and I'm pretty sure Winfield was out going into the game, meaning you get a bunch of backups. It's a home game, again, for Goff and the Lions, so I really think he should get it back on track, especially if I'm wrong about Baker and Tampa actually comes out and is able to score. And for those who believe in Vegas lines, these are also the 2 highest over-unders of the week at 49.5 and 51.5. So maybe it's my draft bias, but I like this group a lot. I think there are a lot of points to be scored on Cooper's side of the ball. Now, the best 2 groups is still, or one of the best 2 QBs is still Hurts, even though I have no idea what to make of this Philly offense. He did have 2 turnovers, so not a great game. Still ended up with 23 points. So we can chop this sloppy play up to Hurts not playing a single down in the preseason, not a one, and then having to travel to Brazil to play on their sloppy field. NFL is just screwing up left and right in this early season, but I digress. The Eagles get the Falcons at home. Kirk looked terrible, and I'm not going to be surprised if Philly just crushes Atlanta. I would guess 25 points here for Hurts when he gets it back on track. Maybe no tush push, but still a very good offense against what appears to be an average at best defense. Now let's look on to this loser Rodgers, throwing 167 yards and 1 garbage time touchdown. So wait, you're telling me between Cousin and Rodgers, the 2 quarterbacks coming off Achilles, they aren't producing at a high level early in the season? Shocking. Who possibly could have called that? Well, despite the Titans losing last week, it wasn't because of their defense. Defense actually looked okay, and I'm sure our champ can tell us more about that, but the Titans looked okay there. The best quote of the week was the Titans head coach saying, "If we punted the ball every time on 1st and 10, we would have won the game." So to give you an idea how bad Levis was and how decent that defense was, I think that's pretty telling. Now, I can't see Rodgers topping 20 points this week, and I think 15 is more likely. So I call me not a Rodgers fan, openly biased, so maybe that's some of that showing. But the edge of this week, I think Hurts has the highest potential here, but on the whole, I think the Pocket Dogs have got this group 1, and I actually think he might end up with the 2 highest scoring quarterbacks. That's my bold call. But even if they just score averagely, Cooper's got the edge. All right, moving on to wide receivers. Amon-Ra, Kupp, and Devonta versus Pittman, DJ Moore, and Pickens. This is where Cooper's team brings that boomstick. He stacks Amon-Ra with half of Tampa's defensive backs out with his quarterback. He gets Kupp, who has no Puka, and then he gets Kupp, who had 21, this was stat of the week, 21 targets in a single week. 21! That's the 9th most ever in a single game. Ever. So, anyone want to guess the most targets in a single game? Give you a minute. I'll let you know at the end of this episode. That's what we call a tease, boys. Corey would be proud. Well, I think A.J. Brown is still the main man in Philly. Devonta is consistent. I mean, like I said, I'm really not sure what to think of them, but I don't know. That's why I love Kellen Moore so much. He's just a great OC. He's going to use what's taken to him. I mean, I just don't think there's a weak point here at all in Cooper's group. It's just a very, very solid group of wide receivers. So, while he really doesn't have any risk, Fat Gandalf, on the other hand, Fat Dre or Dre off, they went all in on the risk. They've got Pittman, who's supposed to be this PPR machine. Well, tough to do with an Anthony Richardson who threw a total or completed a total of 9 passes in the entire game. 9. That's it. Yes, somehow he managed 220 yards on those 9 completions, but still 9? There ain't no PPR machines coming out of Indianapolis, I don't think. So, meanwhile, our resident Steelers fan is hoping that Pickens can become the new DJ Moore from last year. Fields is finding himself in the starting job up again. I think he wins it for good this week. But he is there, and obviously he did make a great DJ Moore last year. So, maybe. I don't think so, but maybe. However, they do get the Denver defense after a 70-point Miami bludgeoning last year. Denver's been surprisingly decent on defense, and the over-under in this game is 36, so I just don't see a whole lot going on for Pickens. Then there's this year's DJ Moore, not last year's. With Odunze out, or what looks to be like he'll out, he has one less target in this offense, and that's good. I mean, there's less balls to go around because Caleb only threw for 93 whole yards last week, one of the worst openings in 20 years for a quarterback. I think 2020, somebody did worse, but that's horrific. But we know that it is impossible for DJ Moore to get all these targets and all of this extra work with Odunze going down, because these are the owners who took Cole Kmet and somehow defended him as their second tight end. They can't possibly think that this work is going to DJ Moore. It has to be going to Kmet. He is clearly going to soak up all of those targets. Well, regardless of where you think it's going, I expect Houston to blow the doors off this team. Caleb is not ready for a shootout. I don't even know if he's ready to start with how bad he looked, but he is not ready for a shootout against one of the team's league's best offenses. I think they get completely destroyed. They're down early, and Houston's defense seems to just tee off on Caleb, and he didn't get nothing done today. So, edge clearly for me. Just Cooper takes a massive edge. I mean, it's the size of Fat Gandalf's cups. Just massive. It's huge. So, huge edge here. Running backs, we've got Chuba and Brian Johnson for Saquads and ETN. All right, so when you go 0 RB, this is what you get at running back. Chuba was a 0 RB darling, but after Bryce Young's just putrid first-week performance and really career, you have to question if Carolina is even going to manage to get a few first downs, let alone get Chuba into the end zone. Fortunately, they get the lowly Chargers. If Chuba's going to do anything this year, maybe this is the spot, but I am certainly not convinced. I'm not even convinced the Pocket Dogs are going to start Chuba this week. They've got Dowdle. They've got a shot on Jalen Wright. So I don't know. Obviously not a strong spot. This is the weak points of a 0 RB team. But the other side of the 0 RB coin, you do get some decent running backs that have great matchups, like Brian Robinson. He gets the hilariously bad Giants. This guy's got, this guy is just stone cold, my lock, complete lock for a touchdown this week. Just put it in. Don't listen to TJ and Sema. Don't listen to their bet of the week. This is it. Anytime touchdown, Brian Robinson. The Giants are bad. With the stat, one of the stat of the weeks being Daniel Jones throwing for 2 touchdowns since he signed his great deal. He has also thrown for 3 pick sixes. So just they are hilariously bad and will continue to be so. So definitely no problem taking an anytime TD for Brian Robinson. All right, let's look at the middle erections. They stack up Hurts and Saquads against Atlanta. They could both eat. That's entirely possible. I have a Philly for at least 28 in this game. I would not rule out Hurts passing to Saquon for a TD and then doubling up. As I said earlier with Devonta, I have no idea what to expect in Philly. This one single real-life game is going to impact this fantasy game tremendously, depending on who scores in the Philly offense. So we'll see. This is the game for you two to be watching for sure. Meanwhile, in Jacksonville, there are rumblings that Tank Bigsby is taking over ETN's role, or at least significantly cutting into it. I don't buy it. I still don't buy that he's any good. He did just have a great week, but it doesn't really matter because the Jags draw a very good Browns defense. I don't see much coming out of the Jags this week, let alone specifically out of their running game. I got to give the edge here to the middle erections. Saquad's just kind of kind of gets it done a little bit, but I don't think it's as bad as it initially looks. We'll see, but definitely edge to Dre and Fat Gandalf. Moving on tight end, McBride versus Dalton Schultz. The Zona stack here. I said I loved it in the preseason, still do. They're just a high-powered offense going against the Rams. The Rams should score. I mean, just like I said earlier, just this stack should work. And while it didn't work wonders last week, I think Murray can kind of get it rolling with McBride. He'll get his connection in. I mean, Kyler's job clearly isn't to throw the ball to Harrison. He's got to throw it to somebody, though. So I see him working the middle of the field a little bit more than the outside of the field. So I think he has a good week. On the other side, we've got Dalton Schultz. This guy's still in the league, huh? Well, good for him. I'm sure his mom will be cheering for him in his double wide, just cheering her little heart out. But, yeah, ginormous, just huge edge, Jerome Harrison size edge to Cooper in this matchup. All right, move on to the flex. We've got the 0 RB versus the high T. We've got Brian Thomas, wide receiver for the Jags versus Najee. Brian Thomas could be a candidate for the offensive rookie player of the year, the way that Neighbors and Harrison look. But then again, the Browns defense is good. Thomas is a deep ball specialist. Myles Garrett is not going to give Lawrence 4 seconds to get the ball out. I think this is more of a Christian Kirk type of game. Again, another bad game, and I am taking double Xannies and downing it with a bottle of booze to try to waste away my sorrows for Christian Kirk. I mean, it's going to be scary bad if he can't get something going this week. Anyway, not helpful for Brian Thomas. Meanwhile, Najee, with no Warren, or maybe a slowed Warren. I think he might play. I don't think it matters. Najee gets plenty of work here, so nothing to worry about. I don't like the Najee and Pickens stack together. Just a bad, low-scoring team, a low-scoring week. But Najee's certainly going to get the work, so I'll take Najee as my edge in this matchup. But that does lead into the Commish's Cold Stone Marble Slab Cookies and Cream Pick of the Week. As mentioned, I just can't get on board with the Steelers this week. Fat Gandalf would have to place a spell on that team for everything to fall right and get as many points as he possibly could, just going to all of his players. I don't think that happens. Maybe, but I don't think that happens. I do like the Eagles, but again, with two of them, especially an offense and a quarterback and a running back, it's feast or famine. I mean, what if Hurts does everything and Saquon gets nothing, or vice versa? So, I just don't like it. I'm going with Cooper. That's right. My cat bro and the team I defended most against our AI overlords. Not only is his team more solid just across the board, kind of an obvious glaring weak spot at running back, but he certainly has the edge in matchups this week. So, yep, that's it for me, boys. Week 2's in the books. There's my prediction. I'm taking Cooper. Let's see if I can start 2-0 this season. Hope you enjoyed it. Newsletter coming out soon. Play me out, TJ. Peace out.